Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about astrology and the death of Carl Weathers. Sadly, Carl Weathers, some of you may have heard about this, has died. I believe the death was actually February 1st. It was yesterday. I did not see any details on his death except that he died peacefully, and I'm going to talk about some natal placements, connected with his life, and also his death and transits as well that may have been tied into this. Now, as is the case in a number of charts that I don't have the time of birth, so I had to improvise and do a solar/sunrise chart. Um, for him, Carl Weathers was born on January 14th, 1948, and I improvised and to put the sun at the same spot as the ascendant, Sun Capricorn. Want to be kind, maybe rewind for a second before I start talking about his chart. First off, I want to offer my condolences and prayers to the close friends and family members of Carl Weathers. If any of those people happen to see this video, it may be remote as far as the chances go of that, but I still want to do that anyway, just in case somebody close to Carl does see this video. I'm sorry for the passing. He was, I would say, legendary. I mean, some people may not see him as such, but legendary actor, and was in the some of the Rocky films. Some of you may remember he played the iconic character Apollo Creed, who fought Sylvester Stallone, aka Rocky, in some of those movies, and he was a tremendous actor. And he also played football for a little bit too. And he was, very versatile, well-rounded person. Well, first thing, I want to talk about, okay, his sun in Capricorn, basic fundamental character, naturally being somebody that was very ambitious, someone that has a lot of, enterprise, probably had very good, business acumen, person, I'm sure, structured, disciplined, consistent, and he's somebody, Carl Weathers, somebody that seemed to really have the chemistry with Sylvester Stallone in those movies. And, oddly enough, he's the sun sign opposite of Sylvester Stallone, who is Sylvester Stallone has a Cancer sun. Um, but the thing is, what I wanted to, get at with as far as Carl Weathers and just his life and his death in general. The thing that I noticed on his chart, far as his passing. Well, he did have transit Uranus was close to his natal north node, and in the fourth house, again in the solar sunrise chart. Fourth house is the end of life. In the solar sunrise chart, he does have Taurus on the fourth house cusp, which could indicate a peaceful, tranquil end of life. Transit Uranus, when it hits the north node, it could often, well, the north node in transit can often be about issues one may have to confront and address. And the fact that transit Uranus is making a loose conjunction to it anyway, at the time of his passing, that could be something of a very unexpected nature, falling in the fourth house of the end of life. The death may have been somewhat unexpected and unpredictable, but being in Taurus, it's not surprising. It was something that was very peaceful and tranquil. He was in looking at the chart as well. I mean, having the ruler of the fourth house, Venus, being in Aquarius and conjunct the moon based on the solar sunrise time. It's not surprising the end of life would be one that would be something that would be public. The moon does have a connection with the public. Being an Aquarius, the sign of what's unpredictable, and also the internet, social media. The thing though is, I mean, depending on his time of birth, Carl Weathers would have his moon in Aquarius or Pisces. And another thing too, though, the death, that's been, on Wikipedia says it was that he died in a peacefully. What's interesting though is that transit Pluto was very close proximity to his natal Mercury, and Mercury in astrology is connected with breathing. And I'm just, wondering too, in the lungs, could there have been some kind of issues that he had been going through at the time of his passing that was connected with breathing or the lungs? Being an Aquarius, it could have been something that was very, erratic. But I don't know this. That's speculation. Again, the only thing that I saw that was disclosed, as far as specifically being tied into his death, is that it was one that was peaceful. And having going to Mercury in Aquarius is the natal place, and again, that's the position based on the solar sunrise time. 0 degrees Aquarius. That's a very good placement, for Mercury, even though it's not considered, to be, in its dignity or exaltation. That can give very, ingenious, innovative thinking, a mind for television, and could also indicate, being able to speak, very clearly and having, in a very clear, perspicacious matter. His sun making a conjunction to Mercury can shine the light on this. And the thing is, going to his moon placement now, having the moon, could be in Aquarius or Pisces. If his moon was in Aquarius, the emotional needs may be more tied in to altruism, humanitarianism, innovation, new technology, computers, electronics. But if the moon is in Pisces, it would be more, the emotional needs would be more tied into fantasy, fiction, relaxation, meditation, poetry, dancing, film videos, things, naturally that could be Pisces related. Now, another thing, what I wanted to state, regarding his passing, Carl Weathers in his natal chart has Pluto conjunct Saturn in Leo, and that could just indicate a death, just due to older age. And being in Leo, the sign of notoriety, attention. It's not surprising the death would be one that would garner certain attention. Now, Carl Weathers in the solar sunrise chart also has, he's a Scorpio in 10th house cusp, but he has one of the rulers of it in the 8th house. So that could indicate a death that would gain certain notoriety and recognition. And another thing is that the ruler of the 8th house, Mercury, is conjunct the sun, so that's an indicator right there that would, a death that would be in the spotlight, perhaps. So he, look at, Carl Weathers as well. I notice he has Jupiter in Sagittarius, Jupiter being in its dignity in sign, it's placed in the 11th house of goals, aspirations, television. So it's not surprising he had luck portraying an athlete in television. And another thing that I noticed about, Carl Weathers' chart, which is, compelling, I'd say, is the fact he has the South Node conjunct his Chiron in Scorpio. The South Node, I understand, it's about what we're trying to get away from, but I believe the South Node could also be, indicate things that we can be naturally proficient in. You have the South Node conjunct Chiron, person could be have some natural built-in abilities connected with healing. And being in Scorpio, the sign of transformation, rebirth, regeneration, and it shows me that maybe he had some ability to maybe empower others, transform others' lives, you know. And the thing about it is being a healer in that respect. But it could also indicate, suffering and wounds that one may have to get away from, whether it was, a physical nature. Chiron can indicate physical suffering. Being in Scorpio could be something he may have had to deal with connected, the colon, the prostate, the bladder or urinary tract, or it could have been, issues where maybe he had to deal with endured some suffering dealing with being manipulated by others, or dealing with, people that may have been jealous, people that were vengeful, or, just difficulties with power and control in general. Another thing, when I look at Carl Weathers' chart, another thing that I look at, and having in the solar sunrise chart, having just Sagittarius on the cusp of the 12th house. What's interesting, because Sagittarius has the connection with sports and athletes, and the 12th house is fantasy. It's connected with films and video, and when he did portray an athlete, a sports figure in the movie Rocky. And the thing about it is, he also, another thing, his chart, I'm just looking to see if there's anything, with any, transits or, natal placements tied in, just with his life and passing that are of anything of significance I wanted to, to talk about. Well, the thing is, and again, and it is based on the solar sunrise time. He could have been born later. I don't know his time of birth. But based on the solar sunrise time, he has Venus conjunct the moon, which is interesting because Venus can have a connection with the arts, which can include acting. The moon has a connection with the public. So that would be a very good aspect. That could be auspicious for doing some acting and gaining, being publicly recognized as an actor. And anyway, that's really pretty much it. What I wanted to get at as far as anything tied in. With Carl Weathers' passing and natal placements that have connected with his life. And again, I do offer my prayers and condolences to Carl Weathers, close family and friends. If anybody, close friends and family, if any of those people happen to see this video by any remote chance, they do. And if you see this video and you happen to know anybody that's a close friend or family member of the late Carl Weathers, kindly pass it on to him or her. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.